Hey folks, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. Today we're test driving the 2014 Hyundai Santa Fe Sport 2.0T all-wheel drive. Now, we just test drove this last year, but in the front-wheel drive only model, and I liked it a lot. At that time, it was one of our best SUVs we tested all year. So now that we have the all-wheel drive one, I wanted to bring it out here to the desert trail today and see how well it works in the dirt. Styling is still fresh since the Santa Fe Sport made its debut for the 2013 model year. The look is a blend of Hyundai's first and second wave of what they call fluidic sculpture styling, meaning the Santa Fe has blockier and a bit more hard-edge forms than before. The large chrome grille is prominent, and angular stretched headlamps really add a sense of sportiness to the look. With black plastic cladding along the lower half of the Santa Fe, you get some extra protection out here in the dirt, as well as a more off-road centric look. The rear quarter view has a more fastly raked rear side glass than the larger Santa Fe 3-row crossover, giving the Sport that extra bit of flair. An integrated spoiler over the rear window finishes up the look cleanly, as does a set of traditional round exhaust pipe tips. What I like about the Santa Fe Sport is that while its styling is decidedly Asian in character, it doesn't have that lumpy silhouette or design details that some of its competitors do. It remains athletic in stance, and as you will see, backs that up in capability. Inside the Santa Fe is a cabin which impresses most with its consistent fit and finish, as well as high-quality materials. Everything from the switchgear to the steering wheel and shift lever feels and looks as if they were all cut from the same cloth. While the design itself isn't as dramatic as some, it's a clean and tidy look with controls laid out perfectly for getting the business of driving done. The infotainment touchscreen is placed well for ease of use and is shielded adequately from sunlight glare. Controls for the HVAC, audio, and option navigation system were all within easy reach, intuitive to learn and operate while driving. Functions for the navigation system as well as the top-level audio controls work well via the touchscreen with no glitches to report. The option heated leather seats were plenty comfortable both in support as well as to the touch. In our tester, the driver's seat was power adjustable, the passenger seat manual. The rear seats have a reclining function for additional adjustment range. I really think Hyundai struck a good balance with seating position in this new Santa Fe. In the last generation Santa Fe, you were sort of perched up high, up against the windshield and looking down over that hood, which really sort of gave you a feeling of being exposed, and no matter how far you put the seat back, it was hard to get rid of that. Now we have a little bit larger version this time, so we're sitting further back from the dash, further back from that windshield, and so you get that feeling of safety and confidence that breeds. But the thing is they've actually kept the seating position high enough that you still have that SUV feel, and that's what people want when they're looking for these. The rear seat passengers are going to be pretty happy as well. As you can see, there's plenty of legroom back here, and the big thing that I like is this lower seat cushion that's actually high enough up that it doesn't feel unnatural. A lot of crossover SUVs have you sitting down low with your knees pretty high up in the air, much like a car. Here, it's just a nice natural relationship. It just feels good, and I think for a long trip, for a lot of people, it's going to be comfortable. And another nice thing is a pretty well placed armrest here. If you've only got two passengers back here, it also has a cup holder hidden inside. The rear cargo area is sizable as expected, even though the Sport's raked roofline cuts into a little. With 40-20-40 split folding seat backs, you can expand the cargo area in a variety of configurations to fit your needs easily. While all these details are important, we came out to the desert to see how well the Santa Fe Sport can perform in the dirt. The first stop was our off-road test area, where we navigated a number of small challenges that test clearances and the suspension's ability to articulate them. One test I always love to do with these SUVs and crossovers is the one wheel up and one wheel down test. This is where I take it up here on a little mogul that I've got that gets one of the front wheels over there and one of the back wheels over here off the ground. And so, in all fairness, what I do is I make sure, in this case, I've got the lock done here so that the four-wheel drive system's locked, so I'm getting traction to both the rear and the front axle. So that's sort of, you know, the leveler. I do that with all the vehicles. So here we go. We're just going to go up here, and this is really just a test to see how articulate the all-wheel drive system is combined with the computerized traction control. Okay, right now Okay, what's happening is I've got that front wheel spinning over there and the rear wheel spinning back there. The traction control system's not intervening and stopping those spinning wheels, nor is any kind of a limited slip differential getting in there and trying to rescue this action. So I'm going to give it a little more fuel. I'm going to back up and we'll do it again here, giving the vehicle just a little more momentum and seeing how well it does. Okay, yep. So it doesn't really pass the test. It passes the test if you're going fast enough through it, but if you actually get stopped and you get sort of in a teetering spot, this vehicle doesn't have a superlatively robust all-wheel drive system that's going to pull you out of every little hole you get stuck in. But alas, the Santa Fe Sport isn't really meant to be a Rubicon warrior. Its all-wheel drive and traction system is really aimed at the driver who needs the ability to navigate occasional snow, ice, and muddy roads in the course of their daily drive. It's not meant for off-road hobbyists. Now that we've had some fun out on our off-road trail, I'm sort of getting a feel for the on-road driving. The handling on this SUV is actually pretty tight. You don't get a lot of top-heavy tippiness out here on windy roads like you do in some of them. And this chassis is actually pretty well buttoned down. And this 2.0T engine is actually a lot of fun to drive. I like its power curve, and even though it does have a tad bit of turbo lag, it actually puts down power in a pretty good way. And with the all-wheel drive, there's no torque steer. It just really has a good acceleration curve. That engine is Hyundai's 2-liter direct-injected turbocharged 4-cylinder with 264 horsepower and 269 pound-feet of torque. Standard with a 6-speed automatic transmission, it's EPA rated in our all-wheel drive tester at 19 miles per gallon city, 25 miles per gallon highway, and 21 miles per gallon combined. We found, however, that the published fuel economy was pretty easy to beat, but I'll get to that in a moment. This is another place I love to bring a crossover SUV out to test it. This is a washboard gravel road that can take some of the best SUVs made out there and make it shudder and jiggle like a nervous chihuahua. So it's always a great place to bring these vehicles out and just sort of roll them down the road and see how they do. And so far I'm pretty impressed that the Santa Fe has got a pretty solid body structure, and the suspension seems to be very well isolated. I'm not getting any kickback through the steering wheel. I'm not getting any shuddering through the steering wheel, let alone rattling. And believe me, there's some other SUVs we've tested out here that cost 2 and 3 times as much that aren't doing nearly as well as this. So I'm pretty impressed. The Santa Fe Sport indeed showed us this week it can enthusiastically navigate terrain that some of its competitors would rather not. Best of all, it does so with poise and comfort that's surprising at this price point. Summing it up for the Santa Fe, I gotta say I really like it a lot. In fact, it's going on our I'd buy it list for 2014. It's that good. And the reason I like it so much is because it just has a consistency across the board. All of the items on our checklist, the Hyundai just comes up right at the top of all those things. I'm talking about fit and finish, design, capability, performance, and how nice it is to drive. And it also gets excellent fuel economy. We got 28 miles to the gallon combined with this thing this week, which is pretty good for any vehicle, let alone a crossover SUV. So this week it gets 5 out of 5 stars. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride.